Commander Thrace was a legend among his kind. These genetically engineered super soldiers were bred for war, raised in vacuum chambers, and trained to withstand conditions that would turn lesser species into liquid. Thrace had conquered 12 star systems. He'd survived explosions, endured radiation, and walked through plasma fields. By every possible measure, he was invincible, until he met Earth. The mission was supposed to be simple. Scout the Death World, gather data, and get out. But a sudden solar flare fried his suit's primary systems, and the backup failed during his descent through the atmosphere. Thrace crashed into a dense forest, his armor shattered, his advanced biological systems struggling against the planet's relentless hostility. The gravity alone was crushing. His bones ached with every movement. The air was thick, humid, and felt like inhaling fire. The temperature swung wildly from scorching heat to freezing cold. And the wildlife, it was aggressive. Insects the size of his fist attacked him without pause. Every hour brought a new form of suffering. For 3 agonizing days, Thrace pushed forward, his iron-born resilience driving him toward the communication relay. He endured without food, without rest, and without any hope of rescue. He kept telling himself he had survived worse. He had to have survived worse. But on the 4th day, his will finally snapped. He collapsed near a small settlement, his body unable to go on. He had conquered worlds, but this impossible, hostile, relentless planet had defeated him. As Thrace lay on the ground, accepting his fate, he heard something unexpected. Laughter. A human child, no older than 7, was approaching him without an ounce of fear. The boy wore tattered clothes and carried a wooden stick like a sword. His feet were bare, covered in dirt and bruises. He had a fresh scrape on his arm and what looked like a bee sting on his neck. "Hey, are you okay?" the child asked, completely unbothered by the sight of a massive alien warrior lying broken in the dirt. Thrace tried to respond, but his throat was too raw. The boy didn't wait for an answer. Instead, he sat down beside him and offered him water from a canteen water, so clean it seemed impossible in this environment. "I'm David," the child said with a smile. "This is my forest. Well, our forest. My mom says we're just borrowing it. Are you lost?" Over the next few hours, the incomprehensible happened. This small, fragile human child began to care for a genetically superior warrior in ways that shattered every concept Thrace held about strength. David built him a makeshift lean-to, a simple shelter that protected him from the worst of the elements. The boy showed him which plants were safe to eat, which insects to avoid, and how to use mud to protect his skin from the biting creatures. David explained the patterns of the local wildlife, the timing of the dangerous storms, and where to find clean water. "My dad says, Earth is dangerous," David said matter-of-factly. "But that just means we have to be smarter." Smart beats strong. Thrace watched in awe as this child navigated the death world with casual competence. The boy had a scraped knee from falling out of a tree earlier, but he had climbed it anyway. He'd been stung by insects and bitten by something small, but he just kept on playing. He had very little food and water, yet he shared everything with a complete stranger. "Aren't you afraid?" Thrace finally managed to ask, his voice a hoarse whisper. David just looked confused by the question. "Of what?" "The danger. That's just part of being here. My mom tells me that fear is a signal to be careful, not to give up." He paused, thinking for a moment. "You give up easy. I've seen tougher things than you in this forest." That simple, honest statement shattered something fundamental in Thrace's understanding of the universe. Here was a 7-year-old human child who faced the same hostile environment and not only survived, but thrived. He didn't do it through genetic enhancement or military training, but through adaptation, ingenuity, and an absolute refusal to surrender. David helped Thrace reach the small human settlement. As Thrace received medical care from the colony's doctors, he watched them parents protecting their children. Children playing joyfully despite the constant danger. Families surviving on a world that seemed to want them dead every single day. When the iron-born rescue ship finally arrived, Thrace stood to leave. David ran up and hugged him, a custom Thrace didn't understand but appreciated. "Will you come back?" David asked. Thrace looked down at this small human, this child of the death world. And he finally understood a truth that no amount of genetic engineering could ever teach. Humans weren't tough because they were strong. They were strong because they refused to stop being human. Yes, Thrace replied. I will come back. The legendary Ironborn commander had been humbled, not by a warrior or an army, but by a little boy playing in the dirt. Thanks for watching.